Hi, my name is Louise. This will be my first tutorial here on the page today. I thought I would do something that would be helpful and something that everyone has. So everyone, I believe, unless you're super duper awesome crafter and a genius, will generate scraps as they create whatever it is that you do. So I thought I would pick 3 common enough materials and show you how you can use those to create mixed media backgrounds, which you can use in a multitude of projects. So in my first video I'll show you how to create those backgrounds, and in my second one I'll show you some projects. So the first item we'll be using something that everyone has, I think, thickers, and you have numbers or weird letters like Z's, Q's, etc. that you just don't know what to do with them. This would be a way you can use those up. So that'll be one item we're using. The next will be scraps of fabric. So this could be lace, ribbon, cords, anything that you have bits and bobs left over. This could be from packaging, things you've made, anything at all. And then the one I'm sure that we all have is paper. So these are just offcuts of paper, could be tissue paper. You can also use some kitchen roll in here if you've mopped up anything as well. This could be packaging, bags that you've got stuff in. So we'll be using these 3 sets of items to create some backgrounds. So if you're going to do, you could choose what to do this on. That's what I was going to say. If you use a thicker sort of paper, that would be good, and I'll show you how you can then use these backgrounds in the second video to make different items. So it's good if you start on a big piece of paper if you don't know what project you want to make. So let's take the first one. So let's go for fabric firstly. What you will need is, I advise, a gel, or you can use glue if that's better for you. And you will need white gesso. That can be any type that you have, or pick up a cheap one if you want to test this out first. Let's see, I think these colours go nice with this anyway. If you're using a patterned paper like this and you want to keep the colour of the background, you could use clear gesso. So because my fabrics actually go well with the colour here, I'm going to use clear gesso, as I may not colour all my fabric. So I'll just start you off and then I'll go ahead and finish it off and come back. So clear gesso or white gesso at the end. First of all, you need your adhesive, and there's going to be no right or wrong here. So you're literally going to take these strips of fabric and we're going to randomly stick these down over the paper and keep going until we're happy that it's full, or we've used up all our fabric. And I'm just using a palette knife here. You don't have to, it's totally up to you. So I'm just going to layer up strips of fabric. I'm going to cross them over in no particular pattern and build this up. So I'll come back once I've done that and show you how that looks. Okay, so I have stuck all that down. The thing I used was 3D gloss gel, by the way. So I've overlapped and some of them I've scrunched up. I'm going to go ahead and dry that with a heat gun, and then I will give this a coat. I'm going to use clear gesso in this instance. White gesso would be absolutely fine. So I'll come back once I've done that. Okay, so I actually changed my mind. I decided there was too much colour going on. So I have used the white gesso. So what that does will strip back the whole colour palette for you, ready to then reapply your own colour scheme. So that's that. I will dry that off. What I will do is do exactly the same with the alphas and numbers, thickers, and the scraps of paper. So I'll prepare a page exactly the same as this, and I'll come back and then I'll show you how you can then add colours to that. I'll try and use some different mediums, so hopefully you have some of those in your kit, and I'll come back and show you 3 pages. Okay, so this is the alpha one. The only thing I added was I took the kitchen roll that I had, separated the 2 layers. I just stuck the alphas down and then added a layer of tissue paper on top of the alphas with some of the gel, just to give a bit more texture and join those shapes together. Pardon me. And this is the paper one. So a similar kind of technique. I use paper strips, and then I've layered it up by using the 2 tissue papers over the papers, and then added more paper, more tissue, until we've got this big section in the middle. I'll go ahead and coat these in gesso now, and then we can start applying some colour. Okay, so for this page I'm going to use some acrylic paints. For this page, this is the thickers. I'm going to use some ink sprays. And on this page I'm going to use ink pads. So these are Distress Oxides. You could use normal Distress inks, anything you can smush and add water to, so it becomes more like a ink. So let's look at the first one. So we're going to use Distress Oxides. Let me get my mat. So what we're going to do here, looks like it's leaking a bit. We need a water spray bottle like this, just water in here. We're going to take the pads and just smush some of this onto the sheet. Any colours you like. And then we're going to add water to activate these. And then we simply take our paper and we're going to swipe this through. And this is not quite dry yet. So this page is not quite dry yet. I'm just going to stop for a second and I'll just dry the page and we'll come back and do that. Okay, so it's dry now. So we'll just smush the paper into these colours. In fact, we could just do this. And that's really nice. That's got those colours going. So let's turn it the other way. And every so often you just want to give it a quick dry. Let's show you the colours. Give it a quick dry because you'll start blending those colours all together and end up with a yucky brown kind of colour. Every now and then, give it a quick talk. So I'll carry on doing that and I'll come back and show you this page. So I'm just going to build up those layers. Okay, so here's our first background. So this was using paper scraps, and oxide, so you could use any inks on here or anything else. It doesn't have to be ink. You can use any medium you have on here. Let's get that colour there. Okay, so the next one. So let's move these out of the way. So next we're going to look at ink sprays. So let me just get the ink sprays. So these can be any ink sprays that you have. I've got a whole mixture of brands here. So we're literally just going to spray this, and again the same idea, you can use water to move it around, and every so often give it a quick dry so that you're not getting too much mixture of colours going on. So that's quite wet now, so I'll just give that a quick blast. And you could also tap this off with kitchen roll where it's really wet. You can see how these alphas and numbers are starting to really pop out now with the colour on top. It's coming out quite not in a sort of in a very dense spray, so let's move it around a little bit. So I'm just spraying on water to get those colours moving. I need some more water in here. And a bit of pink in that area. Okay, so I'm quite happy with those colours. So I'll just go ahead and dry that off, and I'll come back and show you how that looks. Okay, so it's not 100% dry, so I will leave it to dry properly. But you can see the gorgeous colours that we've created there. You'll see how the ink looks different on areas where there's no gesso. And if you want a bolder colour, make sure your gesso is 100% dry before adding ink, and keep drying and adding more and more layers till you're happy. You can see here where the colour is very concentrated and in the middle not so much. So there's a really great way, and you wouldn't even necessarily know what's underneath there. So that's a lovely background there. So now we're going to look at paint. So let's just clear up this area a little bit. And we'll swap our pages around. Whoops. Okay, so I may need a bit more water. We'll try it. I may have to run off for water at some point. So this, again, it's the same sort of thing. Popping paint on, manipulating it with water. So I'll just clean my brush off a little bit. Okay, so here's this page. So I thought paint would be really good with this one, as it's very heavily textured. On my hand up a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna just take paint, get my paintbrush, I'm gonna just start brushing this on. And then where you want it to be more watered down, again use that same come on, have I got enough water? Just, and that will allow you to manipulate this paint around. So I'm going to carry on and I'll come back. I'm going to use also gold and a greeny blue colour, so I'll come back and show you how that looks. Okay, and it's finished. So some I've just put on wet, some I've spread around with the water, and I actually have a coastal nautical sort of theme I need to do some projects for soon that this is going to be ideal for. So I've kept some of the original paper. I'm not going to colour that. That goes nicely with the colours of the gold, and this looks like a fishing net almost, so you see the lovely textures you get by using fabric. And again, you can colour this with anything you like, gelatos, inks, paints, anything you have to hand, watercolours, anything you can use. And this just shows how you can use up scraps. So this was the ink sprays and thickers, so the paint and fabrics, and this was our ink pads and papers. So 3 very different but easy ways to use up our scraps. So I hope that was useful, and I'll be back soon to show you what I made with them.